This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, the state of devastation is becoming apparent in South Canterbury following this week's floods. The ePro 8 challenges in Dunedin getting youngsters to test their STEM skills. And some people like collecting things like pens, tea towels, salt and pepper shakers, but there's a Dunedin woman who's collecting something a little sweeter. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. The flood-damaged Ashburton Bridge is likely to be open only to light traffic for the time being, with trucks having to make their way through a longer route via Geraldine. Radio New Zealand reporter Alice Stewart visited a home in Temuka owned by Rebecca Emerson, which had to be evacuated on Sunday as floodwaters flowed into her house.
Oh my God, look at the bank, it's like an island. Goodness. The fence is gone. So this was all driveway and this was a roundabout. This was all flat.
Surveying the damage after floodwaters ravaged Rebecca Emerson's Temuka home on Sunday morning.
Pretty much my kids and my whole life in here as far as personal stuff. Photos, artwork, anything like that that was fully important. I don't know how this has happened. I don't know how this has all fallen in, and because all this was stacked up over here.
Inside the garage of the home she only shifted into recently, precious belongings and boxes of photographs, her life's work.
Let's go and look inside. What a mess. As you can see, there's just I don't know where all the stuff has come from. It's just rubbish that's obviously been floating around. Because we came in here on the day, and obviously we were just walking through water at that level. It really stinks, doesn't it?
She and her two children only came here from Wanaka to start a new life a few months ago.
It was hard enough coming here to South Canterbury as it was, to be fair.
Living your whole life?
Living our whole life from Lake Hawea. They love their new schools, so that was my selfless part, to get them better education. So now I just want them to have a home again, because it's like, you know, an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old are like, this is awful, you know. They were already sharing two homes, one with their mum and one with their dad. And now poor mum's got no home for them.
What's next?
Don't know. Just find a new place, hopefully sort the insurance out and start over.
The Southern District Health Board has admitted to using not properly sterilised instruments in 5 operations. Medical procedures were underway 5 different times at Dunedin Hospital before doctors or nurses discovered their instruments weren't properly sterilised. Southern District Health Board Chief Medical Officer Nigel Miller says sterile services staff work in cramped and inefficient working conditions. Dr Miller says this contributes to the recurring issues with instruments being improperly sterilised, and the situation needed to be urgently addressed. Dr Miller told a Southern District Health Board meeting yesterday about the incidents and said the incidents are low-risk events. Intermediate-aged pupils from several Dunedin schools converged on Tahuna Normal Intermediate School to take part in a technology event. The ePro 8 Challenge has teams of children working together to build projects from the ground up, with the winning team set to compete at the national finals.
Eternal glory, or at least bragging rights, are on the line for these budding engineers taking part in the Dunedin leg of the ePro 8 Challenge.
So the grand final champions are a trophy this size. We claim it's the world's only trophy that comes complete with working gearbox.
Kelvin Thiel set up the ePro Challenge 4 years ago in the North Island and was able to quit his day job when running these events around Aotearoa became a full-time career. Thiel says he designed each of the projects to be visual and dynamic.
initially we 3D printed all the equipment, so aluminium rod and 3D printed joiners and parts. But what it's been really cool with that is it's meant that when we come up with new ideas of activities and challenges, we're not limited by what's available. We can add parts to it. So we could add a gearbox, we can add a solar panel, we can add a generator.
The Grants Braes Engineering Ducks team worked together as a unit well on the painting robot project. Team spokesperson 10-year-old Austin Heggie outlines the challenge they just completed.
We've built a contraption with a paintbrush where it has to go up and down to paint a wall. So first of all we did it with an axle, and we had to move the axle for the paintbrush to go up and down, and then we had to step it up for another 40 points to use motors to make it go slower, and press 2 buttons to make it go up and down again.
The Ducks are one of 2 teams Grants Braes has in the event, and their teacher Rebecca McKeever is super proud of both teams.
But also all the STEAM, engineering, problem solving, maths. They even had to do a wee piece of art just then, so really all curriculum areas are covered.
To get to this stage of the event, pupils around Otipoti met the grade after taking part in video challenges at their own schools. They are then called to take part in the semi-finals, and after today, the top teams go on to regionals. In Dunedin, the South Today.
Police were called to assist a 4-year-old boy who was found walking along down a Dunedin road early this morning. Senior Sergeant Craig Dennison says police were called by members of the public who saw the child walking along Portobello Road about 6:40 a.m. Police arrived and spoke to the boy, who said he wanted to go for a walk. The child was then able to give police directions to his home. Police say the boy's mother was unaware he had left, but was grateful he was not harmed during his expedition. A Dunedin woman has allowed her bedroom to be taken over by hundreds of candy dispensers. Called Pez dispensers, her collection consists of hundreds of cartoon and celebrity characters mounted on a lolly dispenser.
A collection of perky and playful Pez dispensers is turning into a mini museum. Blossom O'Neill began collecting the candy receptacles with a set of characters from the movie Madagascar.
They had a Madagascar set, and I liked giraffes, and I remember having the giraffe as the childhood little dispenser, so I wanted to complete the whole collection. And once I got to that, the guy that I had bought it off online actually sent me like another 20 on top of that. So then I was like, oh, this is quite cool, so I just kept gradually collecting them.
The collection is now gradually expanding across the walls of her bedroom.
So a Pez dispenser is little lolly dispensers that you could buy at the dairy for about 50 cents, and now they're ranging, in New Zealand they're about $6 per dispenser.
Some dispensers are valued at hundreds of dollars.
You can buy the little kid ones like Paw Patrol for about $3 each, but the ones that are like worth of value, they can get a nurse or a doctor, and they're worth about $300 a piece. So they range from older programs like Mickey Mouse that are still long running to newer programs like Paw Patrol, Peppa Pig, but I do have like middle ground ones like Shrek, Winnie the Pooh, which is worth quite a bit of money, Ben 10, the Tweenies, it goes back to the Tweenies. Mr. Bean's very expensive as well. There's many, many different categories.
Miss O'Neill enjoys showing people her growing Pez museum.
Adults message them on the page and the little kids want to come look at them, and I'm like, that's something cool and different to do in Dunedin.
In Dunedin for the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, there's a new addition to Dunedin's skyline, aptly named Stretch, and we have this week's football chat with host Morgan Jarvis. So catch this and more after the break.
Introducing Tussock Country, New Zealand's hot new country music festival. 9 days, 30 plus events and unlimited southern hospitality. Plan your visit and buy tickets today.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Hi, Lindsay here from Campbell's Menswear. We've opened another pop-up store in Invercargill. It's for a limited time. We're in D Street, 201, right beside the Lone Star. Come and check us out. We've got some fantastic deals for you. We've got moleskins, we've got every sort of shirt, worn ones, work ones, business, merino knitwear, jeans, trousers, you name it, the list goes on. It's such a big deal. Come and see us.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Alex Campbell Menswear, pop-up store, D Street, Invercargill.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole Map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Ah, TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
Welcome back. A new addition to Dunedin's skyline has appeared in the form of a 74-metre high crane. Nicknamed Stretch, the 250-tonne monster was delivered to the former Cadbury site in pieces on the back of 10 trucks. The crane will spend about 2 months cutting the top levels of the facade off. It will also hoist up 2 20-tonne excavators that will demolish the rest of the building from the top down. One of the crane's last tasks will be to help remove the silos. A bonspiel was called recently in Alexandra, drawing curlers from across the area to compete. These events are typically held in the dead of winter on the outside curling rink, but recent bad weather forced play inside.
Lowburn Curling Club member brother Jack Davis, otherwise known as My Lord, presided over 11 teams from Central and wider Otago taking part in an informal tournament. Rain forced the traditional crampet variety of the game from the outdoor rink, with games played indoors. The action was fast and furious, with a 30-minute time limit placed on the games. Organisers say curling's traditions have changed little in the more than 150 years since it arrived with Scottish migrants. In curling parlance, males are called brothers and females sisters. Brother Jack Davis presides over the traditions and believes New Zealand might be one of the last places in the world to follow traditions to the letter. Davis says the title of My Lord is a life sentence which was bestowed upon him in 2009. He describes the honour as a poison chalice, as he's known many people who've died while being called My Lord. And he says it's a national role, covering 37 curling clubs from Otago and Canterbury all the way to Auckland. In Alexandra, the South Today.
In this week's Football Chat, host Morgan Jarvis is joined by 2 local football club members about the games played in last weekend's wet and slippery conditions.
Kia ora and welcome to McDonald's Football Chat. I think we're all still drying out after the pretty wild weather we had in the weekend. Let's hope the forecast is a bit better for this weekend because there's heaps of footy action coming on up over Queen's Birthday weekend. heaps to talk about. Joining me to chat about it, we've got Morgan Whitson from Mosgiel, thanks for coming in, and Phil from South City Royals and CABBE president as well.
That's right.
Been a pretty full-on year so far for you, Phil, with the Royals topping the table at the moment. It's been such a good start to the season, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, I guess it always helps when you're winning. There's no doubt about when you're trying to do something that that we're trying to do. But the guys are working hard. They're focused on each game as it comes along. We're not getting too far ahead of ourselves. We've got a very good reminder in I think it was our first or second game against Wanaka, where we thumped them 9-1 or whatever it was at Tahuna Park. And their coach did say that don't get too far ahead. So there's a focus every week. And the next focus is Saturday. We're not looking beyond that. So
yeah, and it was a pretty gritty game that you had in the weekend down at the Kelly against Roslyn. We'll check out some highlights from that later, and the highlights don't really do the conditions real justice, I don't think, because it was grateful for the grandstand, that was for sure. But it was a good old gutsy game, wasn't it?
it was fairly damp, as it was everywhere else in Dunedin. There's a bit of water lying on the surface. Well, actually, there was a lot of water lying on the surface, certainly in that bottom corner at the northern end there. But I guess it was one of those games, from my point of view, where the team that adapted the best would likely prevail. And I think, in all honesty, we did a little bit better on the day than Roslyn. But it was, as you say, a good gritty game, lots of hard, firm tackles. But under the conditions, I thought it was remarkably fair, to be honest. And I think, I can't remember his name, but the referee from Christchurch, I think did a sterling job. Ended up on his bum a couple of times.
Yes, he did, yeah.
Which was quite amusing. That was commented in the aftermatch at the club rooms. But I think he did have a pretty good game.
Yeah, great. And Morgan, you've made a big move this year back out to Mosgiel after a few seasons up at Roslyn. And how are you enjoying it out there? Because it's obviously been a tough season as far as results go, but there's so much positive chat about how the team's going each week.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. The environment, the girls, the challenge. It's definitely a move I needed to make. Yeah,
great. And you're clearly getting a bit of a workout some weeks as well. And it sounds like Saturday was no exception, with pulling off some big saves. And again, we'll get to the results soon. But what's the aim for the rest of the season? Is it to try and pick up a couple of big scalps before the season's out?
Always, yeah. We're just coming along in strides, and the girls are putting in so much work and effort, and I'm just amazed by it all. Yeah, and
we've got a pretty talented bunch of keepers around town at the moment, really, haven't we? And
yeah, there's a few out there. It's good.
You would have gone up against Tessa on Saturday, did you?
Yeah. Had a few words to her after the game. It was good.
Brilliant. And you're another hero of my daughter's. We've had Jordan on the show already, but teaching her up at preschool. I remembered when a new teacher came on board last year and pulled me aside and said, "Gee, your daughter clearly idolises you as her dad. She's always saying she wants to be just like Morgan, and how good you are at football." Yeah. I didn't admit it then, but I knew full well that she was talking exclusively about you. Loves getting along and watching the games, but it's coaching young ones. Is that going to be on the horizon for you?
Oh, I already am.
Brilliant.
For 3 years now.
Great. So look, that'll wrap up Football Chat for this week. Big thanks to Morgan and Phil for joining me, and good luck to everyone in action over the long weekend, and we'll see you next week.
And you can watch the full interview online at odt.co.nz. Still to come on the South today, the government backtracks on its controversial recommendations for whitebaiting, and we take a look at tomorrow's weather for you. So see you after the break.
Risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Hi, Lindsay here from Campbell Menswear. We've opened another pop-up store in Invercargill. It's for a limited time. We're in D Street, 201, right beside the Lone Star. Come and check us out. We've got some fantastic deals for you. We've got moleskins, we've got every sort of shirt, worn ones, work ones, business, merino knitwear, jeans, trousers, you name it, the list goes on. It's such a big deal. Come and see us.
Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
Alex Campbell Menswear, pop-up store, D Street, Invercargill.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
Thanks for joining us. Whitebaiters can breathe a sigh of relief after the government has backed away from the controversial recommendations put forward last year. Suggestions of closing up to 15 West Coast rivers to turn them into whitebait sanctuaries appears to have been dropped. From next year, the main difference will be a shorter season. Fishing will only be allowed in estuaries and near river mouths, and it will be paused in parts of the Abel Tasman and Fiordland National Parks. The Department of Conservation has been asked to gather more evidence about the state of the whitebait fishery, including further monitoring, scientific assessment and economic analysis. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. The state of devastation is becoming apparent in South Canterbury following this week's floods. The ePro 8 challenges in Dunedin getting youngsters to test their STEM skills. And some people collect things like pens, tea towels, salt and pepper shakers, but there's a Dunedin woman who's collecting something a little sweeter. And now look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome Hayden Meikle. What have you got for us in tomorrow's paper?
Good evening, Mel. I must say I'm quite excited by the look of that collection there. Pears, very sweet collection indeed. Outstanding.
My mouth's been mouth-watering ever since I saw it.
That's great stuff. Mouth-watering could also describe tomorrow's Otago Daily Times. There's lots of good stuff. Now, hands up who's sick of the Dunedin City Council long-term plan. Answer, nobody. It's still going, but it finished today. Lots of good angles, and the big angle, of course, is the rates rise. They settled on what the rate rise is going to be, and well, it's a good and bad news situation, really. The good news is it hasn't gone up from what was forecast. The bad news is, we're copping a 9.8% rates rise. So there will be some people who will struggle with that, some people who won't be very happy, and tomorrow we'll be telling everybody why they've ended up at that figure, and significantly, of course, what that will be buying us in Dunedin for the next few years. So
that's what I'm really interested in, what you actually get for that rates rise.
A lot of interest in that, and a great little side story on a 5-year-old boy who presented on his ideas for a playground. So there's talk of Dunedin perhaps thinking about a destination playground like the Margaret Mahi playground in Christchurch, and a great little yarn with that kid. And speaking of kids, we've got a beautiful photo on the front page tomorrow of a bunch of cute kids with the Reverend Alofa Lale, who is the new president of Pacifica Inc., a group I didn't know a lot about, but it's about Pacific Island women in New Zealand coming together under a single banner, and she's the new president, which is very cool, having a Dunedin voice on that group. So, and a couple of good yarns. The Regent 24-hour book sale is changing. It won't be at the Regent, and it won't be a 24-hour book sale technically. So find out more about that tomorrow. That's all I'm going to say, Mel.
So it's completely revamped.
A little bit revamped, yes. And in sport, the boys are looking at New Zealand cricketers who scored test tons on debut. Should be an interesting read.
Wonderful. And you can catch all of that in tomorrow's ODT. And now it's time to look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the southern view, dramatic clouds are looking across to the Dunedin suburb of Tomahawk. Looking at the situation, dry tomorrow with high cloud increasing and northerly winds developing, but some rain likely over the weekend from a low pressure system developing in the eastern Tasman Sea. Starting at the northwest of the South Island, scattered showers and 14 degrees in Greymouth and Westport. Moving to the northeast is mostly sunny here with 16 degrees in Nelson and 17 in Blenheim. Moving down to Canterbury, partly cloudy for the region with 15 degrees in Kaikoura and Ashburton. Christchurch is slightly lower with 14 degrees. To the southern towns, moderate northeasterlies with some high cloud and 12 degrees for the Catlins and Balclutha. Lumsden and Gore the same with 13 degrees. Moving to the Central Lakes area, Wanaka and Queenstown have moderate northerlies with increasing high cloud and 12 degrees. And it's similar in Alexandra and Te Anau with 12 degrees for you both, but Te Anau sees a little bit of rain. To the northern towns, moderate northeasterlies with some cloud and 12 degrees for Timaru and Oamaru. And Twizel and Amarama, you've got high cloud and increasing and 13 degrees. And Dunedin, some cloud tonight with a low of 5 degrees. Mostly fine and sunny tomorrow with light northeasterly winds developing, a high of 13 and a low of 8. Overcast on Saturday with a few light showers developing from late morning, a high of 11 and a low of 9. And in Invercargill, cloudy tonight with a low of 5. Cloud increasing and thickening during the day tomorrow, a high of 14 and a low of 8. And rain easing to showers on Saturday with cooler southwesterlies developing, a high of 12 and a low of 7. And that's all from the South Today team for this Thursday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.